Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you all to the Daily Norseman's YouTube channel. This is our first effort at this. Things are going to go pretty smoothly here, I think. The topic I want to take a look at for our first installment here is the fact that we're about 5 weeks away from the 2012 National Football League draft, and we're starting to hear rumblings out of Winter Park that Rick Spielman and company might not be completely sold on USC tackle Matt Kalil with the third overall pick in the draft. The logic that Spielman is apparently citing in making this sort of analysis is that if you look at some of the quarterbacks that made the playoffs this year in the National Football League, if you have a great quarterback that can develop or that has developed, you don't necessarily need an elite left tackle protecting his blind side. And while some of that logic might be the case, if you take a look at just the quarterbacks in the NFC that made the playoffs this year, 5 out of the 6 of them, if you look at Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Eli Manning, and Matt Ryan, those guys have all been in the same systems for a significant amount of time. They've had a lot of stability as far as personnel is concerned, and so that has allowed them to develop a little bit. The other quarterback that made the playoffs in the NFC this year was obviously Alex Smith, and the 49ers think so highly of his talent and his abilities that they just spent a week or so chasing Peyton Manning and now have to try to convince Alex Smith to come back and that he was their guy all along. But in most cases, if you take a look at the NFC, those quarterbacks have had time to develop, and while they didn't necessarily have left tackles that were taken in the top 5 or top 10 of the NFL draft, they had guys that developed into very good left tackles that allowed them to become the quarterbacks that they have turned into. Now, if you look at a team like the Vikings that has, at the risk of turning this into a Twilight sort of thing here, if you're on Team Ponder or if you're on Team Webb, neither of those guys is going to develop if they have to scrape themselves off of the turf as frequently as they did in 2011. The Vikings were near the bottom of the league in sacks allowed. They absolutely cannot go into the 2012 season with Charlie Johnson starting at left tackle. They need to move him inside to guard. And with the position that they're in, with Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin III already slated to go with the first 2 picks, they have their choice of the best non-quarterback available in this year's draft. And the effect that Kalil would have on the offense as a whole, in the passing game as well as in the running game, he should be almost as much of a no-brainer for the Vikings at number 3 as Adrian Peterson was with the 7th pick back in 2007. I think he's clearly the best player available at that spot in the draft. I hope the Vikings don't get super cute or anything like that and try to talk themselves out of Kalil, or barring them getting a ton of draft picks in exchange for somebody moving up to number 3. I think they need to stay where they are and take Kalil. He would plug in at left tackle immediately, slide Charlie Johnson inside to the left guard spot, improve the offensive line, and as a result would help not only Ponder and Webb in the passing game, would more easily open up holes for Adrian Peterson, Toby Gerhart in the running game as well. And because of that, Matt Kalil should be the pick at number 3. I hope everything coming out of Winter Park right now is just a smokescreen, something to try to get people interested in the number 3 pick to possibly move up and get more picks, or to give more picks to the Vikings rather. Hopefully they don't screw this up, because this should be a very easy pick for Rick Spielman and company to make, and is something they can build this team around for a very long time to come. So not that Rick Spielman is watching, but if you're listening, Mr. Spielman, don't mess around with the pick. Just go with the best guy available at number 3, and quite frankly, from everything I've seen, the best guy available with the 3rd overall pick is Matt Kalil. He will do more to help this team than anyone else you'd be able to take at that spot. And that's my opinion. You guys can express what you think in the comments, either here or on the site, and we'll be back with more of these videos in the future.